Hey, Push Run Nation, Dr. Dave here, peace. And today we have a special video because this is one that a subscriber requested a comparison between two shoes that individually I've reviewed in the past. And he just wanted both of them to be compared. Durability-wise, I have about the same amount of miles on them, 200 miles. They're from the same brand, which you've probably known that by the title of the video. We're going to look at softness, hardness testing of the foams and weights. Both are the same size. We'll look at the materials in both of the shoes and see what each of the two shoes may be best for and what type of runner. So let's check it out. So the two shoes we're talking about today from ASICS. In this corner, we have the Superblast, their new shoe on the scene this year to be the one shoe, possibly, that runners can use for all things, whether long runs, tempo runs, slow runs, races, but also being a Supermax cushion shoe. Has the most foam of any shoe that ASICS has ever put out. And that is coming after the shoe that a lot of reviewers on YouTube made as their number one shoe last year in 2022, and that's the Novablast 3. I absolutely love this shoe. Used it for a lot of long runs until the Superblast came out. So let's check out the Novablast 3 first. Between the two, I'll go along and compare things on both shoes on each area, from the padding around the ankles, to the lacing, to the tongues, to the upper material, to obviously the foams in the midsole, and the rubber on the outsole. We'll weigh them up and we'll do our durometer softness testing. On the Novablast 3, a lot of padding around the ankle, very plush. Same type of high level of padding on the Superblast. By looks, a little bit more of it on the Novablast 3. This shoe right here just reeks of plushness. If you want a very, very comfortable ride, bouncy ride, this is the shoe right here. Going down to the tongues on both shoes are fairly thin. There's padding on the upper section of the tongues, right up in this area, which is where you're going to be pulling your laces the hardest, or tightness-wise, so it doesn't dig into your foot and cause pressure points. Same thing with the Superblast, which has a little bit more of the padding on the top of the tongue. The material of the tongue on the Superblast feels a little bit more durable, a little bit more heavier material. Both tongues are very aerated, a lot of holes in them. Let's check out the shoelaces. I'm a freak when it comes to shoelaces on shoes. Not much give or stretchiness on the laces on the Superblast or on the Novablast 3s. The Novablast 3 lace is a little bit heavier, a little bit wider. Overall, that may add a little bit more weight to the shoe. As far as the uppers, they're the same type of construction, jacquard or jacquard material on both shoes. So durability-wise, they're both going to last about the same length of time. At least they should, as far as abrasions or anyone who is prone to get tears in the uppers of their shoes. I've never had that problem personally, but I've read comments from other runners who, for whatever reason, maybe it's the width of their shoe, I don't know, but some people tend to have terrible problems with the uppers of their shoes tearing. Don't know how that happens, but some people are prone to it. The material on the upper, synthetic engineered mesh upper, both shoes have inlaid in designs on them to give a little bit more flashiness to it. By the feel of the inside, just checking the arches, both feel like the arch support is about the same height. Check the insoles or the sock liners in both shoes. which are probably going to be the same. Both are very cupped to provide lateral support, probably the exact same inside sock liner or insole. Why so many things are the same between these two shoes is the Superblast is basically a Novablast 3 on steroids. More stack height, more foam. A little bit different foam as far as what it all is here. On the Superblast, the big part, we have a new foam from ASICS, which is the Flight Foam Turbo. Very durable. And the way they made this, they could put more foam into the shoe, which was lighter than the Flight Foam Blast Plus, which they have a thin layer on the bottom of the Superblast. That's to add a little bit more cushioning and responsiveness to the shoe. On the Novablast 3, the entire midsole is the Flight Foam Blast Plus, which is, again, a very soft foam, very bouncy foam. So if you want a bouncier ride, this is the shoe to go with. If you want a softer landing, bouncier ride, Novablast 3. If you want a bigger stack height, you're going to go with the Superblast. 45 millimeters total stack height in the heel, 37 millimeters in the forefoot for an 8 millimeter drop. And on the Novablast, we have 41 millimeters in the heel, 38 millimeters in the forefoot for its same 8 millimeter drop. On the heel stack height, we go from 45 millimeter on the Superblast to 41 millimeter in the Novablast 3, 33 on the forefoot in the Novablast 3, 37 millimeter stack height on the Superblast. So with the Superblast, we're getting 4 millimeter more in stack height. Now, let's talk about that midsole foam. That Flight Foam Turbo, again, adds a lot more stability to the shoe. It's a little bit firmer foam than the Blast Plus on the bottom. You're going to feel that when you're running. You're not going to have as plush of a landing or bounciness to your landing as you will with the Novablast. So let's check those midsoles out. And I'm going to check the Flight Foam Blast Plus on the bottom here of the Superblast first. Now, I'm reading 27.5. Actually, we're going to have about the same, 27, 28.5. So in the heel section, same testing, same number, about 27.5 on the heel section, lower heel section of the midsole on the Novablast 3 and on the Flight Foam Blast Plus. That's a tongue twister. On the Superblast. With the same in mind, 27.5 in that heel section, I'll test out the Flight Foam Turbo foam in the heel section. 22, 29, check a couple other spots on here. 23, right in the midfoot, and on the forefoot, 23, 24, 23 to 30, depending on where. 35, 40 in the back section of the heel. So 25, depending on where I do it back in this heel section, between 25 and 40, which is a pretty wide disparity. We're really about the same hardness or softness in those two foams. However, the Flight Foam Turbo, by feel, is a more dense foam. And the denser the foam, the less bounciness you're going to be feeling. This is the same foam that's in the Metaspeed line. So on the top ASICS racing shoes, this top foam, the Turbo, is what's in those shoes. Anyone who's running those, I have both of the Edge and the Sky, and when I first wore them, I really didn't like it because, like either of them, because the foam to me just seemed thin. It wasn't bouncy. So it depends what brand you go with, what you like the feel to be, as to what foam you'll like the best. Let's move over or under to the outsole here. We have the same type of rubber on both shoes, the ASICS proprietary AHAR rubber. You see on the Novablast 3, more of it all around and a little bit thicker too. So that should add a little bit more weight to the Novablast 3 when we weigh them up. On the Superblast, you'll see on the dynamics of the undersole here, or the outsole, you'll see more cutouts in here, which are going to take out a little bit more weight and also be those areas that ASICS found out through testing that are going to allow the midsole to flex as you're coming down on your foot stripe. Where those cutouts are, the midsole will be able to splay or spread out, which when you come down on the road, that's going to create greater surface area of foam hitting the ground, which then will respond back up. Will give you a more explosive response. So you have more responsiveness in the design of that section in here that does have the cutouts. It's not really a decoupled outsole, if you will, but it does have those cutouts. It does work the same kind of. We go over to the Novablast 3 and we see where it's not really a real big decoupled sole, we do have a pretty good groove right in here, which is going to do the same thing as those cutouts underneath over here. Now, one of the things with the cutouts in the Superblast, these are fantastic for picking up little stones. Matter of fact, before filming, I picked out one little stone that was dug in right in this little section here. So you want to keep that in mind. If you're running and you hear a tap, 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 every time your foot's going down, light bulbs should go off. There's probably a little stone, stick, or something stuck in the bottom of your outsole. Now, durability-wise, for the outsoles, after 200 miles on that AHR rubber on the Superblast, I don't see any wear and tear at all. I do, however, on the Flight Foam Blast Plus foam underneath here, and a little bit on the outside right here. On the Novablast, same thing. Don't see any wear and tear at all on that rubber after 200 miles. And other than a little dirtiness in this section right in here, I do see some folding and some abrasion on that foam. And again, that's the same type of foam as the bottom over here. Exactly how many miles you can get out of these shoes in the long run, I don't know. But after 200 miles on both of these shoes, the outsoles are basically looking the same. Almost no wear and tear. I love both of these shoes for my long runs. I'm wearing the Superblast right now in my 3-shoe rotation. This, the Adidas Primex Strung, and the New Balance Supercom Trainer. The originals, the V2s that recently came out, don't have the stack height I like for my long runs, which are between 15 and 25 miles on the roads in training for ultra marathons. With the advent of the what I call Supermax cushion shoes, next day after those long runs, my legs are not feeling like I even ran that far, which is why I like to stick with those for my long runs. I've tried the version 2 of the Supercom trainers, and with 39 millimeter stack height in the heel, the next day I will have some delayed muscle soreness. That's why I stick with the max stack height on the shoes. Just depends what type of responsiveness you want. If you want a more bouncy feel to your ride, I would say go with the Novablast 3. If you want to have a little bit more stack height in the heel, then the Superblast is your shoe to go with. Last up, pop out the scale here. Let's do the Superblast first, and these are both men's size 11 here in the United States. 9.4 ounces for the Superblast, and on the Novablast 3, 9.2 ounces. So 0.2 heavier on the Superblast. Let's do that again. 9.4 ounces, Novablast. 9.2 ounces for our European audience. Check that over to grams. Novablast 3, 260 grams. Superblast, 268 grams. So 8 grams different. Are you really going to feel that? No, you're not. Are you really going to feel that extra 4 millimeter stack height in the heel? Some people may. I don't. You can have a little bit more stack height as with the Superblast, but even with the 4 millimeter lower stack height in the Novablast 3, because of the softness and bounciness of that light foam blast plus here in the midsole, you get that plusher or bouncier feel with this shoe. If you want to see more on these two shoes, some more schematics of them, other write-ups, I'll put links down in the descriptions to both of these shoes that will bring you over to Roadrunner Sports. And just know if you do buy through the links in the description that I do make a small affiliate commission from Roadrunner Sports. And that just goes back into the channel so I can go out to buy more gear, buy more shoes, go into races to test the gear. So this is Dr. Dave from Push to Run Nation. If you have a shoe battle or you want to see a video done on, put it down in the comments. Feel free to write any type of running-related questions you may have about shoes, about your training, about supplements, about other gear, and I'll get back to you.